च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So before the Durga Puja break, we concluded the studying of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, namely the Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. So now we will start the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The 7th chapter is titled as the Jnana Vijnana Yoga, the knowledge leading to realization, Jnana Vijnana. So we will find that till the 6th chapter and the 6th chapter, the process of meditation was spoken of. And it ended with that sloka. The sloka was that with which it ended, the last sloka is yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana Sraddhavan bhajate yomang same yukta tamo mata. That who is the best among the yogi? That those who have realized the absolute, that I am the Atman, I am the Self. They are, of course, a yogi. But there is a state even behind that. The one who has realized the reality in totality, that if it is the Lord who has become the universe, if it is the conscious principle, the transcendental conscious principle which is finding expression as the universe, maybe it's because of ignorance or whatever may be the cause, it is the Lord who is finding expression as the universe. Not a single scripture denies that. And now if I say the conscious principle alone is the reality, the world is false, then we will be just speaking of a partial truth. That for whatever reason, I don't know, that's the jnana, that why the noumenon, the ultimate reality, is finding expression as this phenomenal existence, I don't know. That's what I ascribe as ignorance. But it's a fact that it has found expression as the universe. And if I simply deny that, I will be just accepting half of the truth. I have to take the truth in totality. If the Lord is finding expression as the universe, I have to see the Lord in the universe. In meditation, I first negate everything and get established in that knowledge. And when I come down from that knowledge, I see the same Lord everywhere. So that's the idea of Jnana Vijnana. This we will find also in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Again and again he is speaking of this truth, that by your meditation you get established in that knowledge. But that's not all. When you come down from that state, what you all negated, you find is nothing but the manifestation of the divine and divine alone. So we will find the concept of bhakti is introduced in the 7th chapter. The devotion, the Lord who is finding expression as the universe, he finds expression in two ways. One is because of his guna maya, because of his three guna, his shakti. These three powers are his shakti, sattva, rajatama. The mutation of this has created this universe in which we are all deluded. That's because of the guna maya. But there is another aspect of the maya, that is called yoga maya, by which the Lord himself incarnates as a being, as just like us. He looks like us, he behaves like us, but he is the Lord who is in no way affected by the Maya. He comes down. That is the concept of avatara. In the Upanishads, the concept of avatara we don't find. That's the unique concept which we find has evolved in Bhagavad Gita, where we find Bhagavan, the Lord, is coming down as an avatara, as a Vishesha Shakti. It is the Yoga Maya of the Lord, by which he himself is not deluded. As Sri Ramakrishna gives the example that the snake has the poison bags. It inflicts poison in others. When it bites other, it inflicts the venom. It pours the venom in others and it inflicts them. But it itself is carrying that poison bag. It is not affected. So very simple way Sri Ramakrishna gives that example. So the Maya belongs to the Lord, but it doesn't affect him. And with that Maya, he comes down as a special manifestation of the divine. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if you have to go beyond the Maya, hold on to the one who is the Lord of the Maya. Maya ke utikram korte hole, Maya dhish ke dharo. So this Maya dhish, how to hold him? I cannot hold the abstract. So he comes down in the special form as the avatara. Hold on to him. And then that only can help us to realize the truth in its totality, in its phenomenal existence aspect, as well as in the transcendental aspect, in the materialistic aspect, as well as in the spiritual aspect. So that's we find the concept of bhakti is starting to develop in this 7th chapter, which will continue to in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th chapter. The 12th chapter itself is called the Bhakti Yoga, where the concept of bhakti is fully evolved there, we find. So now it starts gradually, step by step. So here we find of this personal, impersonal aspect of the God, both the ultimate reality. That's why we find the gospel is such a wonderful, this present day scripture. The entire reflection of Bhagavad Gita is there. That when the people were fighting whether Ishvara is Shaguna and Nirguna, the Brahmo Samaj, being influenced by the Western philosophy, started believing that God cannot be Saguna, that cannot be Shakara, we cannot have form. It is only Nirakara. So there we find Sri Ramakrishna coming and in the gospel is asserting, and that assertion is just not from the belief, it's from his own realization. In this yuga, he came as an illiterate Brahmin, so that there is no question of saying that he has read something and is speaking. That the intention behind being illiterate is that I have read nothing. What I am speaking is from my realization. He realized the divine in all its aspect. And as the one who has done Shamannaya, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Je Shamannaya koreche shei lok, who is a human being. As a human being, we have the faculty to synthesize all the various aspects of this existence. And that synthesis should find expression through our life. And the one who can do that, he is a human being. So that's the thing which we will find in the 7th chapter. That in 6th chapter, what we studied, that through dhyana, you realize yourself. Then when you come down, what's your duty? Just in the life of Sri Ramakrishna and Narendra, just the children had that play. That was the theme. Awakening within to vision beyond. There was an awakening within. And then Naren was going and pestering Sri Ramakrishna, I want to forget the world. I always want to remain immersed in this samadhi. And what Ramakrishna is saying? That you are so mean-minded, I never thought. Instead of being pleased, he is saying that I never thought you are so small-hearted. I thought you are like a banyan tree. Under your shade, the peoples will come and get shelter. You will be the succor of peace and what you say, this of love, peace, compassion. So you will be, in you, all will see the Savior. That's what I thought. And you just want your own liberation. And then he is giving him the vision, the broader vision, the vision beyond. The Lord who is within, the same Lord is finding expression as the universe. So see him in totality. Samagram, Samagram, that's the very first verse of the 7th chapter will start with that word. That knowing me in entirety, Samagram, that know the truth not as a partial truth, know it as a whole. And there the aspect of bhakti comes. So with the jnana, with dhyana and with the jnana, I go to that realization. And then when I come down, I see the same Lord finding expression as this universe. And I take the Lord as a totality of both the noumenon and phenomenon. And I find that behind that existence, he has what is his purpose, I don't know. But to sustain his creation, he is finding expression through me as love, compassion, which is not something which I myself have developed. In our heart, whenever love wells up, compassion wells up, all the good qualities that wells up, if we really try to judge without any bias, is it I who have developed it? Impossible. It was already there in my heart. Saha yagya praja srishtva. Yagya means interbeing. With that idea of this interbeing, which finds expression through empathy, love, compassion, altruism. He is finding expression as the universe through me, through you. So let me become an instrument. Knowingly, we are of course an instrument. But sometimes we forget that. We don't know that it is he who is working through us. So if it is he who is working through us, there is no question of karta, that I am the doer. How can it be? I'm just an instrument. Nimitta matra, bhavasabhya sachin. That's the idea that will come in the Bhagavad chapter. In the later chapters it will come. That nimitta matra, be just an instrument. So if I am an instrument, there is no question of enjoying the fruits of action. I have devoted my life to the Lord. It is he who is working through me. I do to the best of my ability because all the faculties which he has given me, and there it ends. If it is he who is working through me, he knows the reason why he is working through me. He knows the best. So I expect nothing in return. So this idea of love, the idea of action without having any selfish motive behind it, all these comes only when I have ripened in my meditation and got established in that concept of the reality which is both the noumenon as well as the phenomenon, as the nirakara, as the sakara, this as the material universe as well as the spiritual domain of his existence. I accept both. So thus we find that meditation ending in knowledge now finds expression as Vijnana. This is the Vijnana. As Sri Ramakrishna gives a very nice example. While climbing the roof, while going up the roof, you're climbing the stairs as if you are negating one by one the stairs. I just negate one stair and then go to the next stair. I'm negating the stairs. Neti. I'm going. I go to the roof. And now when I come down, I realize the material with which the steps are made, they're the same material the roof is made. The same brick, the same mortar, the same lime. For the same thing it is made. So it is he who has become the everything. I cannot stay in the roof for long. I have to come down. The words of Sri Ramakrishna is wonderful that when we sing Sare Gama Padhani, as you go to the higher tune, you cannot stay in the higher tune for long. You have to come down. Nite beshikkun thaka jayana. So when you come down, then what will happen? You're already transformed now. So though you are coming down, but you are no more the same. So once you go to the spiritual realization, many confuse the deep sleep with spiritual realization. That in samadhi what happens? Just as in deep sleep, I forget the entire world. But when I wake up, I know that I am existing. It was not that I got annihilated. I am. But this amness as such has nothing to do with this world. The world has as if merged in me, in deep sleep. And the samadhi also, they say the same thing. The world has as if merged in you. And many will be confusing deep sleep is samadhi. So Swami Vivekananda, in a very nice one sentence, have distinguished deep sleep from samadhi. He says, a fool goes into the state of deep sleep, comes back as a fool. A fool, goes to the state of samadhi, comes back as a wise person. He's transformed. His total vision has changed. The way he's looking at the reality has changed. He doesn't see the world as he used to see as a tangible reality. He sees it as a projection of the divine. And now his entire life becomes a worship, because I'm constantly interacting with the divine. Not only when I'm in the shrine, sitting in front of my deity and doing a particular type of ritual, when I do feel I am doing some spiritual practice. And for most of us, there it ends. So that is spiritual, the rest all is secular. For a man of realization, his spirituality becomes 24/7. He knows the deity whom I am worshipping in the shrine. It is the same deity who is finding expression as the entire universe. As Sri Ramakrishna how nicely used to say, that in the stone image you can see the consciousness. And in the living beings who are consciously moving around, in them you cannot see consciousness. What type of spirituality it is? I can see the consciousness in a stone image, but I cannot see the consciousness in all beings. So that's the idea which we find in the Bhagavad Gita. It has been fully manifested there. So this Swamiji is to say that spirituality is all comprehensive. It is this full manifestation of 3H: head, hand, and heart. Head. With the head what it speaks of? With dhyana, going to the realization. That speaks of the head. In your meditation, with your power of intellectual power of analysis, you have discriminated that this world as neti, na iti. This all is not the ultimate reality. I negated them and then got established in that knowledge. It was only with my mind as a head. And when I come down from that state, then I find the same Lord is finding expression as the world. And then what happens? The question of devotion comes, heart. Now heart opens up. But after all, this empathy, this compassion is not just the feeling. It has to find expression as action. Empathy, compassion is empathy plus altruism. Empathy is a feeling that we have in our heart, but that should find expression as action. That is the altruism. That speaks of the hand. And with the hand, you do the action, and that also action is without any selfish motive. So that makes you a complete man. 3H is fully manifested in you. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the human personality is just like a flute. A flute has 7 holes. To get music, you have to know the art of using all. You have to put your finger on the holes and release them in a particular synchronous manner so that a music comes out. If you press all the holes and just keep one hole open and blow through the flute, a noise will come out. There won't be any music. To get music through your life, you have to do that samanvaya. All the faculties which as a human being I have, they should find manifestation through my life. Then only the Lord can find expression as music in our life. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is again, this word is very important. Je samanvay koreche shei lok. The one who have synthesized all his faculties to find expression through his life. He alone is a human being. In him, all the faculties which he has inherited as a human being, that has found expression. So with this introduction, now let us enter into the 7th chapter, where as we told, that in the 6th chapter ended with the sloka, where they're saying the one who has known me as the ultimate reality, not just the conscious principle, the me who finds expression as the phenomenal existence, who is the consciousness as well as who finds expression as the phenomenal existence. That is the samagra, the totality. So one who has developed the devotion in me, he is the yogi srashta, he is a yogi among the yogis. So that the 6th chapter ended with the word that who has developed that devotion for me, he is the yogi among the yogis. But he has not actually described what that me means. The 7th chapter is here to give an insight into that into that word me, that what is meant by me as the Purushottama, as the Lord of this entire existence, what it means. That will be deciphered in the 7th chapter. So the first verse, what it says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So the Lord is now continuing. What he's saying? Maya Sakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madasraya Asankshayam Samagrang Mang Yatha Gyasyasi Tat Srenu. So Partha, O Arjuna, O Partha, the Lord is saying, Bhagavan Vacha, what is saying, O Partha? Maya Sakta Mana Partha. The one whose mind is always attached to me. Mai asakta, maya sakta. What is attached? The mana. One whose mind is always attached to me. Maya sakta mana partha. How to attach that? Yogam yunjan madasraya. Through yoga. This union has happened through yoga. When you are through yoga, you have the word yoga means union. The word yunjan means to bind. The one who has achieved that union by how? By completely meditating on me, dedicating his life on me, and then what happens? He becomes totally, he has totally surrendered himself to me. He has taken refuge in me. Mat asraya, yogan yunjan madasraya. That he has taken refuge in me through the practice of this yoga, who is always in association with me. As Sri Ramakrishna very nicely says, that the Ishwar to Sarva Bhute Achin, the Lord is there in Sarva Bhuta, in everywhere. But who is a Bhakta? He is there everywhere. And who is a Bhakta? Je Tate Roech. The Lord is in everyone, but we are not in the Lord. The one who is in the Lord is a Bhakta. The Lord is in every being, but the one who is in the Lord is a Bhakta. So that's the idea. He has become the entire universe, but we are forgetful about him. The one who is constantly aware of that fact, that it is the Lord who is finding expression through me, through you, through the entire universe, and is always taking his refuge. He is a Bhakta. So that's the idea. Maya Sakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madasraya Asankshayam Samagrang Mang Yatha Gyasyasi Tatsrina. So you will without any doubt know me in full. Samagrang Mang, that's the word thing. That if you are dedicated to me, have taken refuge in me, and if you are constantly contemplating on me, then without any doubt the Lord is asserting that you will know me in full, not as a partial. That with jnana, I know him, that realization take me to that illumination, that if everything is consciousness and consciousness alone. And then the jnani tries to be cocooned in his meditation. As I was listening to the Sarva Priyanandaji's lecture, where he says that he went to the Himalayas, and some Swami was saying a very interesting thing, that those who are too much attached to meditation. So what he was jokingly saying, that such a person has imprisoned the Lord in the cage of his meditation, in the samadhi, that as if nothing is behind that. He has imprisoned the Lord भगवान को आपका ध्यान का पिंजर में वो बंद कर लिया. He has as if imprisoned the Lord in the cage of his meditation. He has cocooned himself. So from there, if we have to have the knowledge in entirety, there's the idea of this Vijnana, which Sri Ramakrishna is also speaking of. What is the Vijnana? So the Vijnana is that again, that the same Lord has become the universe. So come out from that meditation as an enriched person and interact with the world by seeing the divine in every being. And that speaks of an enlightened, real enlightened person. So that's being spoken of here. Asankshayam samagram mang yatha gyasyasi tatsya. The samagra, what is meant, is both the material as well as the spiritual. What is manifested and what is unmanifested dimension of the divine. Vyakta, avyakta. And that's being explained in this chapter. He will say that I am just like the string which is passing through the beads to form a garland. If the entire existence is a garland, then all the beads are the nama rupa, the names and forms which distinct me from you. They are like the beads. What connects them all? The string which is passing through that. So beads strung by the single thread. So that's the idea of the divine dimension which has been spoken of in this chapter. So yogam yunjan, here this what this yoga speaks of. So whenever we hear the word yoga, immediately the idea comes, oh, sit down and meditate. So in Gita, the word yoga has been used in a much more broader sense. The word yoga means to be united with the divine. So when I am in meditation, I am of course united with the divine in his spiritual essence. But when I am coming out of my meditation, I see the Lord now in every being. So still I am connected with the divine. If I cannot see the Lord in every being, then my spiritual enlightenment ends. Whenever it breaks, whenever I come out of my meditation. It is not uninterrupted. The uninterrupted enlightenment can happen only when I can see the Lord in every being. And that's the idea of yogam yunjan madasraya, that you have to be always united with me through yoga. How is it possible? I cannot stay in meditation always. But he is saying that you have to be always associated with me. How is it possible? By that what you have attained through meditation, that is now finding expression through your life as a transformed perspective. That seeing the divine, I start doing what? Selfless action. That when I'm coming down from meditation, my life, all my actions find expression in two ways. That first, I'm always aware of the divine, which is working through me. Naturally, all my actions become selfless. I'm an instrument. So there is a subjective thing. That's what is the subjective thing? The Lord is finding expression through me. I am just a mere instrument. So I fully resign myself to the divine and I surrender all the results of my action, offer all the results of my action to the Lord, because it is after all His. So that is one. And the other is this is the objective aspect. I see the Lord in me, that's why it finds expression as nishkama karma. And when I see the Lord everywhere else, the question of hierarchy, the question of someone is big, someone is small, someone is good, someone is bad, this all duality, hierarchy, that falls off. So you become samachitta, that samadrishti, that you become same-sighted. As Holy Mother used to say, that when shall you know that you have attained illumination? When you see Amar Majheo Jini, Tomar Majheo Jini, আর ওই দুলে বাগদির মাঝেও যিনি তখন জানবে জ্ঞান হয়েছে. Very nice, very simple words. When you see the one who is within me, the same essence is in you, and even the so-called the lowliest of the lowly, whom you think as the lowliest and the lowly, in him also you see the same being. Then know it for certain that you have attained that knowledge. তখন জানবে সে জ্ঞান হয়েছে. In the life of Ramakrishna also we find that an apparently madcap appeared in Dakshineshwar. And Sri Ramakrishna realized that he is actually a realized soul. So hearing from Ramakrishna that he is a realized soul, Hriday was trying to get some blessing from him. But that mendicant always used to avoid the so-called the people's this adoration. He also he has to just behave as if he is a madcap in the hall. So, but as Hriday knew that he is realized soul, he came to know from Ramakrishna, he was insisting. One day he was trying to approach him, and he was running away. He won't instruct anything. And when at last he asks that, please instruct me something. Then while going away, he told, when you see the water of the Ganges and the water of the drain, both are same, know it for certain that you have realized. So of course in Belur Math we saw, it's a very funny thing that whenever there's a high tide in the rainy season, the water rises up so much that actually the drain water is supposed to go and drain in the Ganges. But that is the opposite. The Ganges water enters the drain, and then we went and told our Acharya. So today we have become Samadrishtola. What has happened? The Ganga water and the drain water has become the same. So not in that way. It's actually the change in the perspective, that when you really see the Lord in every being, then that's the one sign. So when you are looking outside, you have become same-sighted, and when you are looking within, the Lord is finding expression through you. You are the instrument. Through you, He is finding expression as love, as compassion, with which you relate to the world. So all your faculties are something which has been bestowed by the Lord for His work. So you become a divine worker. You're a divine worker. What the divine is working through you. You are no more an ordinary person. So then all your actions become selfless. So these are the two aspects which actually indicate this word yogam yunjan madasraya. When you are always associated with the divine, united with the divine, with yoga, this actually speaks of the synthesis of the 3H, head, hand, heart. And this is the thing which is being again spoken of here, this awakening within to vision beyond. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, again and again you will find Sri Ramakrishna is saying, Sangsar korte khoti nahi. That you always say that we have to run away from this samsara, as if becoming monk is the only final goal of spiritual journey. Sri Ramakrishna is again and again saying in the Gospel that there is no harm in being in the family, in so-called in the householder's life, in the samsara. So what he's saying, that you can be in the samsara. Bhagavan labh kore samsara thak. Then nothing can tarnish you. Then you become just like a lotus, which is always in the water, but the water cannot drench it. So you become like a lotus. So first you realize, and then you come down from that state and try to relate to the world. Then the world cannot affect you anymore. And then you have known the Lord in its totality, that samagrang ma. This is the word, very important word in the first verse. So this is the thing which is being indicated in this first verse. And the second verse, let's now go to the second verse, what it is saying. So we will find that all this, as we just now indicated, the sixth chapter ended with the word that the one who knows me is the yogi among the yogis. Now the seventh chapter followed by the 8th to the 12th. All these chapters actually will be deciphering. We'll be trying to decipher the nature of who that me means. So that's the idea. So actually, some of the commentaries of Bhagavad Gita, like the commentary of Madhusudhan Saraswati, what they say? That the Vedic dictum, tat tvam asi, tat tvam, tat shodhanam, tvam shodhanam. What is that? The essence of me is the divine. The essence of the God is divine. The one who has known that, have known that I am the divine, not as this manifested universe, but in essence we are the same. So first 6 chapters actually was trying to decipher that Tvam. Who are you? When I'm trying to find out who are me, at last Sri Ramakrishna says that if you try to find who are you, at last you find it is the Lord and Lord alone. That you become nothing. It is the Lord alone who is finding expression as you. So the first 6 chapters speaks of that. You're trying to find out who are you. And then you find the Lord. Who is He? The next 6 chapter. The next 6 chapters speaks of the Tat. And then the final 6 chapters speaks of the union of this to this Asi. So this is the entire Bhagavad Gita. It is actually trying to interpret what Tat Tvamasi means. So very nicely, there we will find Madhusudana Saraswati is describing the entire Bhagavad Gita as an interpretation of this Vedic Mahavakya, Tat Tvamasi, Tat Shodhanam, Tvam Shodhanam, leading to that unification. So here we will find that process have started. The first 6 chapters, it started in the 2nd chapter. You'll find that constantly speaking of the Atman. Many things, that's the final words of the Bhagavad Gita, and the rest, entire Bhagavad Gita is actually an elaboration of the 2nd chapter. There are many who interpret Bhagavad Gita that way. And that way, we all end up in a one-sided knowledge where I am the Atman, I have to be totally focused on that. The universe has no meaning for me. So actually Bhagavad Gita is a constant gradation. No book, all the books are written in that way, that for getting the final knowledge, the previous chapters are just a preliminary knowledge, which is helping you to get that more and more advanced knowledge in the final chapter. It's not that the book is written in such a way that the final conclusion is spoken on the beginning chapter and the entire book is an elaboration. That it may be. But the Bhagavad Gita, we can interpret in both this way. But if you take in this sense, that everything has been told in the 2nd chapter, the next is all elaboration, that also will lead in a one-sided knowledge. And if I take just the opposite, that the knowledge is gradually advancing, the culmination is in the 18th chapter, then that will give an all-comprehensive knowledge. So we would prefer to go that way, that how we will find that this knowledge is taking us to an all-comprehensive knowledge where I find an expression within me as a human being who is fully transformed with all the faculties finding expression in the domain of spirituality. So that's the thing which we will find gradually in the 7th chapter. What the 2nd verse speaking of? So that's the same, this idea, this jnana vijnana, which Sri Ramakrishna stresses so much. Jnanam te aham savijnanam idam vaksham yasheshata yajgyatva neha bhuyanyat gyatavyam avashishyate. So that's why we say that read the Bhagavad Gita between the lines, very important. Let's see what jnanam te aham savijnanam vakshami asheshata. This is very important, that I shall tell you asheshata, without keeping anything, without hiding anything. Asheshata, in totality. I will speak of what? The theoretical, that's jnanam, the theoretical knowledge, leading in vijnana, experiential knowledge. Jnana, vijnana. So what this jnana is, and how it leads to that experiential knowledge of vijnana, this I will tell you, it will speak to you in totality without keeping anything just hidden from you. That's the idea of meaning the word asheshata, totally. And yaj gyatva, knowing which, yat gyatva, that by knowing which, what happens? Neha bhuyanyat. Nothing else remains to be known. Bhuyanyat gyatavyam avashishyate. Avashishyate means that nothing remains. Avashishyate. Nothing remains. Everything is known. You know the truth in totality. So what this idea of jnana and vijnana? Jnana is the conceptual knowledge and vijnana is experiential knowledge. What's the difference between these two? Anywhere we can understand what's conceptual knowledge and what is experiential. Conceptual knowledge is no knowledge at all. To give a common example, suppose I have not tasted mango. Again and again we give this example. Someone comes and explains me the taste of mango. That is very sweet and it has a very nice flavor. It is very sweet. Hearing those words, I develop a concept. I think I have understood. It is very sweet. It has a nice flavor. Because I have tasted so many things which are sweet. I have the fragrance of so many things which has nice flavor. So I think I have understood. And what I do, I now start developing concept. After hearing those words that mango is sweet, it has a nice flavor. I have not tasted. I have heard the word. The one who has tasted, he comes and speaks to me that it is very sweet and it has a nice flavor. Now I will find that those who have not tasted mango, they all hear the word and they all feel, I have understood. And they start developing a concept. What's the concept? Someone may think this mango is something like the molasses. It is very sweet like molasses. It must taste like molasses and it has a flavor. Most probably it is like the jasmine flower, the flavor. Because he has experience, he knows the smell of jasmine flower, he knows the taste of the molasses. So he somehow makes an idea that it must be something like that. Someone says, no. It is as sweet as honey and it has a fragrance of rose. Now just see, there is various opinions. How it is developing? Because all have developed concept without realizing. They haven't tested the mango. So now so many opinions develop and they all start fighting. That the world is. No one have realized what God is. Just we read our scriptures and with our this limited understanding develop certain concepts. That's the jnana. Without any realization. And now my concept, I will fight with my concept with the others' concept. This is all matavada. So this matam and tattvam, these two are very important words in Sanskrit. Tattva is the truth. Mata is just an opinion. The jnana speaks of this opinion. With this, we developed all sorts of narrowness. We start fighting. And what is vijnana? Vijnana speaks of experiential knowledge. Now all those who are fighting with the taste of mango, in that society most probably one have written volumes of book on the taste of mango. And everyone thinks he is a very, very learned person. So many books he has written just by hearing that word that mango is sweet and it has a nice flavor. With his own imagination he has written volumes. And one day he somehow gets a mango and tastes it. What he will do? The first thing he will do, he will just put his own books to his fire, isn't it? That they have no use. All those concepts, they have no meaning unless you have tested. Now that experiential knowledge comes. So this is the difference between conceptual knowledge and experiential knowledge. By reading the scriptures, when we think we have understood the truth, that leads to that all the distortions. It has to end up in experiential knowledge. You have to experience that truth. So that's the jnana and the vijnana. So now we will find Sri Ramakrishna in the gospel, how nicely he experiences jnana and vijnana. That in the scriptures, a specific type of jnana is spoken of. What's that? That I am the Atman. The first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita was also speaking of that. I am the Atman. And if that's the fact, then I have to just relinquish everything, negate everything. This neti, na iti, this is not the real core of my being is not this entire world. What I see is even not my body. Something within me who is constantly saying, I. That is the real me. Why that is the real me? Because scriptures say the real me doesn't change. Now my body is constantly changing. I'm a small boy, I will be a grown-up person. But do I ever think that this small boy is different from that old person? No. The one who is saying that I am this small boy today, the same I is the grown-up person tomorrow or 10 years later or 20 years later. That I which is generating from you, that doesn't change. Somehow I have to get identified with that, not all the things which are changing. I dive deep within, by negating all my associations with the idea of what I am the self is. That I superficially think I am this body. No, this body is constantly changing. But the sense of I, that is not changing. If I am the body, because of some accident or because of some operation, one of my limb is amputated, do I think I am just 80% of me? That my 20% has gone? No, we never think. I am the same I. with my limbs or without my limbs. So that I is something which is unchangeable, something within me, swasang vedya. It is something subjective. I realize it is there. That I have to reach, that I have to reach. How? By negating everything with which I have my false association. I'm going within. And then last, when you realize that, then the question of Vijnana, then you find actually the entire universe is a projection of that. An example which we give, that the white light falls on the prism, it breaks into the spectrum of 7 colors. Somehow that conscious principle alone is there. We don't know how the mind came into existence, and the mind is like the prism which comes in association with the white light, the conscious principle, and it breaks into the spectrum of this world of name and form. So many things. If you remove the prism, the spectrum vanishes. Where it has vanished, it has again become one with the white light, isn't it? So in Samadhi, when you have negated everything, even your mind, so in Vedanta is the only scripture where it says that the real you is beyond your mind. In the Western philosophy, they say the self is what? I am. That this I am, the self is what? This sense that I am, this feeling that I am. It is actually again the feeling of the mind. That I exist because I am. But Vedanta says that you are the real you is when you go beyond this awareness that you are. You have gone beyond the mind. And then the spectrum merges with the absolute. And when you come down from that, now what happens? Now again when the prism is back, now you know it is the white light which has broken into the spectrum. The spectrum is nothing but the white light, isn't it? So that's the Vijnana. So only after realization you can now feel that. Till you have realized, you can never know that it is the self which is finding expression as the universe. So this realization alone can lead to Vijnana. So in the words of Ramakrishna, what is that? I will just read out the words of Ramakrishna. The Jnani gives up his identification with worldly things, discriminating not this, neti, neti. Only then he can realize Brahman. It is like reaching the roof of a house by leaving the steps behind one by one. So I'm negating one step, going to the next step. Negate that, go to the next. And that's how I reach the roof. So by negating the layers of your ignorance, you are reaching the roof. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. But the Vijnani, what is the Vijnani? The Jnani I understand, going to that roof. But the Vijnani, who is more intimately acquainted with Brahman, realizes something more. What he's saying? He realized that the steps are made of the same materials as the roof. Bricks, lime and brick dust. That which is realized intuitively as Brahman through the eliminating process of not this, is then found to have become the universe and all its beings. The Vijnani sees the reality which is Nirguna without attributes is also Saguna with attributes. The Nirguna, the white light, has as if no shape, no form, no guna. That is finding expression as the spectrum. It has a particular bandwidth. It has a particular color. So this all speaks of guna, akara. So this nirguna is finding expression as the attributes. And then what he realizes? That very interesting. Our scriptures and even the so-called all the way of interpretations is so interesting. Shankaracharya says that neti is not this, because he wants to get established in the self. Ramanujacharya, Vishishtadvaita, is full of love. He sees the Lord in every being. So he has his way of interpretation of neti. He says neti means not only this. So wonderful. Not only this, that you think the self is this absolute reality. No, not only this. He is the one who has become this universe too. So not neti means not only this. And that's the one who knows that the ultimate reality is not only this, is the Vijnani. So a man cannot, again in the words of Ramakrishna, a man cannot live on the roof for long. He comes down again. Those who realize Brahman in Samadhi come down also and find that it is Brahman that has become the universe and its living beings. This in simple words of Ramakrishna will speak of what is Jnana, what is Vijnana. And then again he is saying, in the musical scale, there are notes, sare, gama, padha, ni. But one cannot keep one's voice in knee for long. The ego does not vanish altogether. The man coming down from samadhi perceives that it is Brahman that has become the ego, the universe, and all the living beings. This is known as Vijnana. How nicely. Jnana, Vijnana. So, yaj gyatva neha bhuyanyat gyatavyam avashishyate. Once you know that there is nothing to be known, you may say, how come? In the scriptures, what you have spoken of. Now, so many things in science we are discovering. Did the scripture knew that? And you are saying that knowing this, everything is known. So we have to understand in the correct perspective. What it is saying, if I know the consciousness has become everything, then in principle, if I make a model of wax of the entire city, as recently I went to the Springfield, and the one who developed that city, he took us to his office, and there we found that is the entire model of the city, which is made with, say, wax. So there, the auditorium is made of wax, the school building is made of wax, all the residential complex is made of wax, everything is made of wax. So in essence, everything is made of wax. What science is doing now, it is not about with what it is made. It is going to the details. That yes, let's go to the auditorium. What all features it has? Let us study. That I may not know. So that when they are saying that nothing remains to be known, it means nothing remains to be known in principle, in essence, not about the details. And this is the difference between so-called a spiritual practitioner and a scientist. What has happened? A spiritual practitioner, what he is doing, that why he is not interested about the details, why he is not so interested? That suppose that I am traveling through a road and suddenly I see a snake in the twilight hours. When I see the snake, I of course get scared and I try to find out what that snake is. Is it venomous or is it not non-venomous? What all stripes it has, black, white, all those things I try to decipher. Now someone comes and focuses a torch on that because with twilight hours, a bit dark, says it's not a snake, it's actually just a rope. Now once you see it as a rope, will you ever try to find out what the snake is, nature of the snake is? You can never. This has fallen off because you know that it is after the snake is a projection. So here there's a demarcation of the science and the so-called a spiritual illumined soul. He has seen the thing in essence. In essence, it is a consciousness alone. How it is manifesting in various forms, that's the, again, field of the science. So there is no clash between these two. So once, if I take the credentials of the senses to be true, that what my sense organs are showing me, that I take to be true, then the science comes. Yes, the credentials of the senses are true. If I question the credentials of the senses, that what the senses are showing me, are they correct? When that question comes, then that enters into the purview of spirituality. So these two are the distinctions. So here, in essence, I am saying that is a consciousness which has become the entire universe. So then nothing remains to be known, because I know it is a God and God alone who has become the entire universe. The Isha Upanishad starts with that. Isha Vasyam idam sarvam yat kinch jagatyam jagat. That is the Isha, the Lord, with whom the entire universe has to be pervaded. Why? Because after all, it is He who has become everything. Even in the Chandogya Upanishad, we find very interesting. When the teacher is instructing the student, what it is saying? Yatha Somya. Oh, the good, the Somya means good looking one. But actually it is not just the physical appearance. The one who has developed all the good qualities, he is a Somya. So to the disciple he is saying, oh Somya, what he is saying? Just ekena mritpinda, just the way with mritpinda, with a mold of clay. You can prepare so many things. A clay pot, a clay tumbler, a clay, what you say, and there's the plate. So many things I can make with that clay. So their only distinction is in the nama and the rupa and the purpose for which they are used. Artha kriya karitva. That only makes the distinction. Nama, Rupa, Artha, Kriya, Karitva. What the name I have given it, what shape it is, and what purpose it is used for. The tumbler is used for drinking water, the plate for having the food. So their purpose is different. Artha Kriya Karito is different, shape is different, accordingly I have given a name. But in essence, they are all clay and clay alone. Yatha somyakkena, somya ekena, mritpindena, sarvang brinmayan vigyatam syat. Once you know that it is a clay with which all this thing is made, then you know the essence of everything. So similarly, that when you know that it is a self which is being projected as the universe, you become all comprehensive. All the knowledge is yours because you have known the essence of the entire existence. And everything else is not denying. What is this saying? They are all just vacharambhanam. Vikara namadheyam mrittikya itti eva satyam. That mrittika alone is the truth. Everything is just namadheya. It has a particular name and it has a particular form. But the essence is mrittika. So similarly, the consciousness alone is the truth. Everything is just name and form. So that's the idea behind that, knowing which everything else is known. So we have to understand it in the correct perspective. Now if you just say that, oh, science has started developing so many things, and how can you say that, that scriptures have known all the things? No, not in that sense they are saying. In saying that in essence, that the self which has become everything, if you know that, you know everything, because after all everything is the self. So in that sense it is being vindicated that you know everything. So now we will find that the ultimate reality can be divided in these two departments. What are the two departments? One that is revealed by the senses and one which is transcending the senses. The real me, which I cannot ever hold, I cannot catch, I cannot grab, that is beyond the senses, and the thing which I see through the senses. Bhagavad Gita, what we will do in 3 chapters. The 7th chapter, these two distinction, what you see and what is beyond your perception, that will be discussed as Kshara and Akshara. Kshara means all the things which I see, they all decay. Nothing in this world remains forever. I am born, I will die, the sun will die, the moon will die. Nothing in this, they evolved at particular point of time and they all will die. Maybe their lifespan is longer, much, much longer. Mine is smaller. But the fact is, we are all born at certain point of time. We are all going through a process of transformation, change, and a time will come, we will be annihilated. So these are all Kshara. Kshara means that decays. But behind that Akshara, there is something which is undecaying, the substratum, which is finding expression as that. So this dichotomy, Kshara, Akshara, this will be discussed in the 7th chapter. So that's why when we say that though we are studying the 7th chapter, we have to have the entire Bhagavad Gita in our mind. Then only we will find what it is gradually leading to. It's a very interesting thing. In the 13th chapter, again, the same dichotomy will be spoken of as Kshetra and Kshetragya. That whatever you see is just the field. The one is the knower of it. This body is a field. There is a knower of this field. He is the Kshetragya. The knower. Knower of this Kshetra is the field. One is the knower of the field. So this dichotomy will be discussed in the 13th chapter. The 14th chapter again will speak of another dichotomy. That is Purusha, Prakriti. The conscious principle and the nature. The conscious principle which is behind the nature. After speaking of this dichotomy will be resolved by saying they are the two aspects of the same reality, and that reality is the Purushottama. Prakriti is the lower Purusha, Purusha is the higher Purusha, and still higher from that, Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti. These words will come in the 15th chapter. The Lord is beyond that. Purushottama is a very synthetic deduction. They take this. So this chapter will be dealing with this dichotomy of Kshara and Akshara. That what the Kshara is, what all the things which are decaying, what they are, what's its nature, and the something which is behind that, the Akshara, what it is. This dichotomy will be discussed through this 7th chapter. So with this, now the next verse actually speaks of what? That it is really something very difficult to comprehend the truth in totality. It's very difficult. It says only a few only a few can really reach that state when they can have that knowledge. What is saying? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mang vetti tatvatah. Tattva. This word, just now we were saying that there are two words, mata and tattva. We may have various matas, opinions, but to know me in truth, tattva, the real principle, that happens only through realization. It's only few. Manushyanam, there's among millions of human beings. A very few are there who are really striving to attain illumination. Most are happy with the sensate pleasures of life. Very few are trying for that. That many say that why there are the spiritual congregations where so few people are there. It reminds me of this Tulsidas' a very famous doha, couplet. I don't remember the exact words, but its meaning is wonderful. He says in a village, in the olden days, in a village, the milkmaid, the one who sells the milk, she has to go from door to sell the milk. She has to go from each and every door. But the one who sells the alcohol, he sits in one place. In his house, he sits in one place. All people come to him. So that's the nature of the world. So for spiritual knowledge, it's very few you get. Those are really inclined towards that. Manushyanam sahasreshu yas kaschid yatati siddhaye. Very few are there who can really attain that perfection. Yeah. So first of all, to get the human birth is something which is a very rarity. Among so many creatures, how many are humans? And among those humans again, how many really are striving for spirituality? And those who are striving, of them, how many are getting really illumined in true sense? So it's something difficult. So Krishna, what is saying? The thing which I am going to say you is very subtle. It's not something which is so easily comprehensive. But that's the thing which you really strive for. That's the worth for which the human life is. That human life, as Sri Ramakrishna again and again said, that Bhagavan Manushya Jivaner Uddeshya Bhagavan Love. The only purpose of the human birth is spiritual illumination, to realize the divine within you. Swami Vivekananda has a nice way of saying it, that we think that the sensate pleasures are the goal of life. He said, with all our technology, what we are doing? We are trying to increase the sensate pleasures of life. But at last, very interesting, he says, can you ever, with all your technological development, enjoy the meal just the way a dog enjoys the meal? His senses are very keen. That's why we use them for, in the crime scenes to catch the criminal, to go to the crime spot, the way they can smell, the way they taste. Even with all our technology, we can never develop that keen sense. We can never. So, human being, the human life is, our uniqueness is not in enjoying the sensate pleasures of life. Animals do much better than that. They have much more keen sense. A bird like this parrot, they say, they have a keen sense of hearing. From here, I cannot hear, but so the parrots can hear the rumbling of the ocean sitting here. Because very low frequencies of sound they can hear. So all this, the keenness of the way they enjoy the world with extreme keen senses, we with all our advancement of technology can never enjoy. Animals do much better than that. Then for what purpose the human birth is? That we alone are the only being in this entire creation. Even the gods cannot do that. It is only the human being can do that. To venture to the spiritual dimension of our existence. That there is a spiritual dimension of our existence, which is finding expression as this material world. To venture into that, to realize that alone human being can do. Manushya Jivaner Uddeshya Bhagavan Love. So that's the uniqueness. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say Manush means man plus hush. Very interesting. He broke the word in his own way. In Bengali, Manushya, the human company is called Manush. And he used to break the word in his own way. Man, hush. Man plus hush. That's not the grammatical way. But he had his own way of breaking that word. What is the interpretation? Mana means value. Mana means value. Even in Hindi, in Bengali, in all the Indian language, we use the word man. What is the mana of this? what is the value of this? And hush means awareness. That each and every being has its own mana, has certain values. Are we aware of that value? Hosh means to be aware. If you are not aware for what the human birth is, the purpose of human birth can never be realized in this life. We have so many of us look like human beings, but we never realize the purpose of the human birth. That's why on the Kalpataru Day, when Sri Ramakrishna blessed all, we think he blessed us with the material things, whatever we want. No. Tomader Chaitanya hok. Again, that same word. You have to be aware of this Chaitanya. You should be aware for what this human birth is. Then only you will strive for it. So that's the thing which this verse is saying. And if you are aware of it, then only you can know me in principle. Tattvata. That's the idea of Bhagavan love, which Sri Ramakrishna is saying in the Gospel. So with this idea, as I spoken of third chapter in third sloka, we will continue our discussion again in the next class. So with this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskars.